Hello and welcome. This is my first video about Cry Havoc, a tactical man-to-man combat wargame set up in the medieval ages. It is a game almost as old as myself because it was published in the 1981, just like I was born in 1981. But of course I couldn't play it as a kid because when I was a kid I grew in the communist country, so it was almost impossible to get any of these Western games. But I finally managed to get it because I wanted to play this game since a while. I think it is pretty important to say that this game was quite popular in 80s. It gained a couple of expansions, but in the 90s it ended its life, but it was just its first life because Historicon, a French company, gave the second life to this system right about 50, I think 12 years ago, when they started to republish this system with brand new games and a series called Norman Saga, with slightly updated rules and they are a bit more complex because original Cry Havoc is a very easy game. Yes, it was a game just made to have fun, but not to focus on the complex rules and a lot of stuff. And Historicon already published a couple of games, and I have some of them. Of course, I started with Sherwood, which is a game of that can be called some kind of starter kit for the Norman Saga. And there is also one more thing I would like to mention. There is also Advanced Cry Havoc. If you find that both Cry Havoc or Norman Saga rules are too simple for you, you can get Advanced Cry Havoc rules. They are free to download from the web, and they come with the totally new rules that are changing the game drastically. There is a lot of new counters, mostly status counters, new mechanics, new combat rules, etc, etc. So I think I might show you someday Advanced Cry Havoc as well, but I wanted to start with basic Cry Havoc. It is a pretty funny and easy game, and I will probably play a couple of scenarios to show you all the details of this game. So, I am starting with first scenario, which is called Street Fight. No, there is no Chun-Li, Kami, Ken or Ryu around. We have a situation where the two rival gangs have been relatively quiet for some time, but violence is due to rapt. Giles insults Baker and insults which must be avenged. So, we have two street gangs here, and they are about to fight. So, before we will start the game, let's talk a bit about the game itself. So, original Cry Havoc comes with two boards. One which is called Village, and one which is called Crossroads. In this scenario we are using only a Village. And one more thing, I have a homemade version of this game. I wanted to buy original game, but it is quite impossible to get a copy after about 40 years, so I have to print it by myself, counters at the board, but I think it looks quite good. Of course it doesn't look as good as a new, but it is playable at last. So let's say that the boards themselves are geomorphic. It was an inspiration from games like Advanced Squad Leader or Panzer Blitz. So these boards can be linked, and you can create even more bigger boards thanks to this. And now the counters. Counters are something amazing. Each counter depicts a single man, and each counter has a unique graphic. So each character in this game has his own picture. This is amazing because there is a lot of characters in this game, and each character has also at last two counters. One represents his full health, normal health. Let me zoom a bit. So you can see we have a Giles, and there is also one more counter of Giles, that he is using when he is wounded. So, what do we have on counters? We have three factors. Upper left is character's attack strength. Red is character defense strength, and blue is character movement allowance. As you can see, when he is wounded, all his factors are halved. On the other side is his stunned status. If he gets stunned during the combat, he's flipped on this side, where he's lying on the ground senseless, and his defense is 0, he cannot move and he cannot attack. And if he's stunned or if he's wounded, we are removing his counter and he's replaced with his wounded character counter. And if he's stunned or wounded again, he's flipped on the dead side, where you can see he's dead and cold, and he's eliminated from the battle. So in this scenario we have a very little number of counters and very little number of characters. We have only a couple of peasants, like I said, two rival street gangs, and each gang contains a couple of peasants and one archer, or I should say shortbowman, because it is pretty important in this game to tell the difference between shortbowmen and crossbowmen. We are using both, but in this scenario we are only going to use shortbowmen. And when it comes to the victory conditions, well, it is pretty simple. Victory goes to the player controlling the last character standing. There is no turn limit. Yes, this can be pretty annoying. So, if you played games published by the Historicon, you can find that such small scenarios usually are played in the 8-turn long gameplay. And I think that 8 is the higher number of turns we can get. Okay, so we are ready to play because I already set up my characters. So, first gang has its leader on the street hex, 3 characters in the building 5, and 2 remaining characters in the building 3. Second gang has their leader Baker in the doorway of the building 2, and all the remaining characters in the building 1. So this is the setup, and now when we are done with a setup, we are ready to start our game. But actually there is one more thing we need to do before we will start the game. We have 2 archers, each side has one of them, and this game has a rule for the limited ammo. I like this rule and I think I will use it. So we have to check how many arrows each of these archers have at the beginning of the game. And to check it out, we take 3d10 roll die and make a roll for Fletcher. This is 4, 6, 10. So Fletcher starts with 10 arrow. Well, not much. Now for the bowyer. 3, 13, 21. Wow, amazing. So he is much better equipped. He has twice as much arrows as Fletcher. So this is good for him. And it was the last thing that we needed to do before we will start our game. Like I said, I'm going to play 8 turns scenario, and effectively the one who gets more characters standing is going to be the winner. So let him go there. And now, game is played in turns, and each turn has a couple of phases. All these phases are played twice, for the first player and for the second player. And what are these phases? First is the shortbowman fire phase. In this phase all the shortbowmen may fire. Next, there is a crossbowman phase. We can skip this phase because we have no crossbowmen in this scenario. Next, we have movement phase, where all characters may move. Next, we have second shortbowman fire phase. So yes, shotbowmen may fire twice. This makes them really strong and impressive characters, and there were situations when I played that all the characters were killed and only shotbowmen remain on board. Okay, next we have combat phase. In this phase we have to resolve attacks of the side that plays its phase. And finally we have a wake up phase when we have to wake up all the stunned characters of this side. So that's all, and let's start turn 1. So, shotbowmen. We have only Fletcher and which gang starts? Gang 2, okay. Gang 2 starts the game, so they are starting the game. So, there is a Boyer, and the question is if Boyer can fire. No. You can tell that he's here, and his line of sight comes through the wall, so he cannot fire here, and there is no enemy in his line of sight, so he cannot fire at anyone. So we are moving into the movement phase. So all the characters can move. So Gam, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, one more left, and I would be able to reach Gills, but I cannot. So Goblin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Kedrick, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Boyer goes here. Farmer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Smith, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And Baker, he's a leader, so he's not going to fight in the first line. So he stands in the doorway, cries for his men, "Go on, men! Give them hell!" But he's not eager to go to fight in the first line. Okay, that was this gang, and now that gang. So we have Fletcher here, and he hasn't enemies in his line of sight, so he cannot fire either. So he moves 1, 2, 3, 4, and now our dudes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3. Giles is brave. He's not going to hide behind his men like Baker, but he's going to lead his attack. And 1, 2, 3. And Carpenter, 1, 2. Now I need to zoom out a bit. Now, you can see that there is a window here. This brown space is a window, and you can move through the window as long as you are not mounted, of course. It's pretty hard to push horse through the window, but we have no mounted characters here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He has a clever plan to attack enemies from behind. We will see how it works. And now let's go and resolve our combat. You may ask about movement. Yes, there is no zone of control in this game. You can move as you like. You can move through the friendly characters. You cannot move through the enemy characters, but you cannot move through the hexes adjacent to the enemy characters as you like. This is no problem. The one thing we have to care about is that there is no stacking in this game. I mean, you cannot move through the friendly characters, but you cannot end up your movement on the hex with another friendly character. There can be only one character on the hex. And one more thing, there can be only one alive character on the hex, or 4 dead bodies. If there are 4 dead bodies on the hex becomes impossible. So, they are going to attack Gam. So 6, 11, and 17. So 17 versus 5. This is 3 to 1. And now we have to check for the combat result. But first, before we will result any, we check for any combat, I can attack with Fletcher, because as you probably remember, there are two shotbowmen fire phases, so Fletcher may fire at the enemies. He can see a couple of enemies, but there are some limitations. First of all, he cannot fire at the characters that are adjacent to his friendly characters. So for example, I cannot fire to Gam or Goblin because they are adjacent to my friends. And I can fire above the characters, but I can only fire above no more than 4 characters. This is something important to remember about. So Fletcher thinks if he can fire at Boyer, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there are 4 characters on our line of sight, so this is fine for archers, and I can fire at Boyer. Now I need to count the number of hexes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now we are taking a missile attack strength table and see. We are using shortbow and we are in the range between 1 and 25. This makes short range and our strength is 38. Yes, when you are firing with your shortbow or crossbow, you are not using your character strength, but your weapon's strength. So, we have 35 versus 5. 38 versus 5 is going to be 7 to 1. That's pretty impressive. And now we are taking missile against infantry table. So 7 to 1. This is our column, and we have to make a 1d10 roll. Oh, that's not good, because we always wanted to get as lower result as possible. And 7 to 1 and 8 is A. Defender retreats 2 hexes. So 1, 2, he's running away. And we have to lower the arrows that Fletcher owns by 1. He had 10, so now he has 9. Okay, so now next we have a hand-to-hand combat phase. So these 3 guys are attacking Gam. So 6, 11 and 17 versus 5. This is 3 to 1. So we are taking a combat results table in the combat against infantry. Because there are, for each combat, there are 2 tables, one for the combat against mounted units and one against leg units. So we have 3 to 1 and 6. This is B. Attacker retreat 1 hex. So he managed to drive our guys away. Yes, he can escape onto this hex because he is a leg character. There is a difference between, because when mounted characters are forced to retreat after combat, they cannot retreat on the hexes adjacent to the enemy units, but leg units can. So he is free to retreat here, even if this hex is adjacent to the enemy warrior. So this concludes turn 2 and turn 1, and we are moving into turn 2. So Baker's gang is starting, and Boyer, can he fire at anyone? I think no. I think that this wall is blocking his line of sight effectively, so he cannot fire to anyone. So all I can do is to move. So Baker is moving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He wants to finally get his chance to hit someone. Oh, sorry, I placed the wrong counter of farmer here. Okay, and now there is a movement for them. So Gam is moving here, Goblin is moving here, and Smith is moving there. They are going to gang on Gills. Now, that's all for the movement, and now Boyer can fire, and he wants to fire at Fletcher because he sees Fletcher as a major threat. And let me think if he can. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there are 4 characters, and he can't fire above 4 characters. So he fires at Fletcher. He has 38 versus 5, so this is 7 to 1. Oh, that's a good roll. 3 in the missile results with the missile against infantry. 7 to 1 and 3. This is C, so he's dead. So Fletcher is killed. And Boyer spends 1 arrow. Okay, now combat phase. So Smith, Goblin and Gam are attacking Gills. So 7, 6, 11, 18 versus 4. This is 4 to 1. 8. So he's fighting well. It was 4 to 1 and 8. This is A. Attacker wounded. And we have 3 attacking characters. So is it means that all of them are wounded? No. Attacker can choose which one of them is going to be wounded, and I think Goblin is going to be wounded. So I am replacing him with a wounded marker. And that's all for this gang. And now Gills gang. Well, Gills gang lost their archer, and well, this is a problem because you can already tell that archers can be very effective warriors. So I can only move, and I am moving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and here I think I can gang up on Gam. This is the best thing I can do here. So 6, 12 and 17 on 5. This is 3 to 1. And 4 on the 3 to 1. This is C. So defender retreats 1 hex, but he cannot. Well, he cannot enter this hex because you cannot end your movement on the hex with another unit, another friendly unit. All these hexes are occupied by enemies, and you cannot move through the walls. So this means that he is wounded instead. Okay, so he's wounded, and this concludes Gills' gang actions. So this concludes turn 2. We are moving into turn 3. So we are starting with our shortbowman fire, but well, Boyer cannot fire at anyone. Well, you can tell that Salter, Radult and Gills are adjacent to our units, and Wolf is out of sight due to the wall. So what I'm going to do, I will move Farmer here, Boyer here, and Kedrick here. So they will protect him, and he will be able to score hits if he wants to. Baker still stands in the door and insults Gills while his men are trying to kill him. So we have second shortbowman fire, and Boyer, I think, still cannot fire at anyone. I made a mistake. I should place him here. Okay, but well, that's my mistake. So now 6, 9, 11 versus 4. This is 2 to 1 only, because we always get the best odds for the defender. So this is 2 to 1 and 8. This is nothing. So Gills gang. Well, I think they are going to focus on Gam. I wonder if I should try to attack Goblin, or I should make a 2 separate attack. Gilles against Goblin, and Radul and Salter against Gam. This might be tempting. This is tempting, so I will try. I will try to do so, but first I need to move. And Carpenter. Well, he's pretty weak. He has only 4. So 1, 2, 3. He goes here. And now let's start. He's attacking Farmer, so it's 2 to 1 and 10. Nothing. Now Gilles attacks Goblin. This is 3 to 1. Now 7. A. So attacker wounded. So Gilles is wounded. And Radult and Salter are attacking Gam. So they have 11 versus 2. It is 5 to 1. 5 to 1 and 6. This is C. He has to retreat. He cannot, so he is dead. Okay, this concludes actions of the Gilles gang, and this concludes turn 3. Alright, turn 4. And Boyer is about to fire at Salter. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And he has 6, so it will be 6 to 1. And 3. Wow, that's pretty good roll. 3 in the 6 to 1 is C. So he's killed. So Salter, you are dead. And 18 arrows. Now movement. Do I want to do any movement? Well, they are going to fight Gilles and they are going to fight Carpenter, so no movement. And second fire, he fires at Radult. So 38 versus 4, this is 9 to 1. And 4 in the 9 to 1, this is missile combat, 9 to 1 and 4, this is C, so Radult is killed. Remember what I said about archers dominating the battlefields in the certain scenarios? That's what's going on here. Okay, now combat. Goblin and Smith are attacking Gilles, so 9 versus 2, this is 4 to 1, and 7 in the 4 to 1. This is B. Attacker retreats 1 hex. Even if wounded, Gilles still fights on. And here, 5, 9, and 12 versus 3. This is 4 to 1. And 10, this is nothing. So, Gilles gang. They suffered heavy losses already, so this is going to be a problem for them. But they still want to fight. So he goes here and Gilles goes there. Okay, and now Wolf attacks Goblin. This is 2 to 1, 8, 2 to 1 and 8, nothing. And Gilles attacks Boyer. This is 1 to 2, so 1 to 1. And 7, this is nothing. And Carpenter attacks Farmer. This is 1 to 1. Sorry, 2 to 1 and 2. This is C. Defender retreats 1 hex. Okay, and this concludes turn 4. Okay, so now we are moving into Baker's gang, and Boyer is firing at Gilles. So this is 12 to 1 and 7, Gilles is dead. And next we can move. So who is going to move where? I think that's Smith is going to move 1, 2 here. And he goes there. So that's all. Now we have our second fire off a phase, but he cannot because enemies are adjacent to his friendly unit, so he cannot fire. And now 5, 9 and 15 versus 3. This is 5 to 1. Let's reroll. 3 in the 5 to 1. This is E, so he is wounded. And here 6 versus 5, this is 1 to 1. And 1 in the 1 to 1, C, defender retreats 1 hex. Okay, so this concludes actions of the Baker's gang. And now Jill's gang. Well, they lost their leader already, so I'm not sure if they can be called Jill's gang anyone, because Jill's is dead. And the problem is that they have only 2 characters left, while one of them is wounded. So, well, their chances to win are almost impossible, because they even cannot get enough strength to incur any losses to the enemy. They are divided, so one of them is here and the other is there. So I think I can call it a day. I can tell that Baker's gang is victorious. They also have still their archer with 16 arrows, so he will probably kill the others with ease sooner or later. So I think this is a good moment to finish the battle with a victory of the Baker's gang. Well, like I said, this is a quick, easy and fun introductory scenario, and there wasn't much stuff to do save to some street fighting, but I plan to record more videos about this game, so you will see more complex stuff soon. That's all for today, thank you for watching and see you next time.